Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round number 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod, King of the Rain Tires. So with Jonathan Grabowski and Jim Cunningham working behind the scenes to give you all the best views of tonight's 75-minute sprint for our TCR and Club Sport classes. Tonight we head to the Monterey Peninsula and the Dry Lagoon. Although recently repaved in real life for the first time in over 15 years, this almost 70-year-old circuit has been known for years for its low grip, sand-covered surface, and it's the same as it ever was here in iRacing. And there's even that 180-foot elevation change that is always daunting. It's the corkscrew. It's a prime contributor of driver consternation with a twist, a turn, and a 5.5-story drop that will no doubt catch many of our Hyundai and Toyota racers out tonight. So good evening, Larry. Welcome to Laguna Seca, where the only things historic this week are you and me.
So glad that's the joke you went with. Yes, and consternation. I'm so glad you pronounced that correctly, because I definitely would not have. But yes, we are back. What are we, round 3 now of this season of TCC? This is kind of cool. This could be a very interesting evening at this track that is historically exciting, historically difficult to pass. I think we'll definitely going to be seeing a lot of strategies when it comes to within class battles, and the 75 minutes that we haven't run yet in this season is going to pose new challenges for the drivers, where in the past they only had to go 60. They got to start thinking about, well, when do I really take that fuel, and do I take those tires? And that'll be a big part of tonight's talking points.
Yeah, indeed, Larry. And so, as you said, it is incredibly difficult to pass here at Laguna Seca. You know, really only 2 very hard braking zones, going down into the Andretti hairpin at what is actually turn number 2 down the hill here as we're watching Robert Schwenkler. And then, of course, going into the corkscrew But, with the TCR cars lapping at almost 6 seconds a lap faster right now than the Toyota GR86 Cup cars, our Club Sport class, I think we're going to probably see a lot of passing between the classes, but that's also going to mean that those Toyota drivers really need to keep their heads on a swivel and be prepared for passes maybe where they don't expect it, maybe some last-second passes going into the corkscrew, for example. And as we are watching right now, our drivers are right in the midst of their 15-minute qualifying sessions where we give each driver 4 attempts, 4 flying laps in order to set their fastest lap and set the grid for this evening's 75-minute race. Each driver has the track seemingly all to themselves, and we're watching right now Travis Schwenke in the number 16 Orion Racing Hyundai TCR car. He is currently 3rd fastest, and we'll see if he can improve. At the moment, Bailey Petrowski, who was our fastest TCR driver in practice during the week, where he turned a 1:30.1, just slightly faster than his provisional pole time tonight. He's got the measure of the rest of the field right now, with Mike Dam second, and as we mentioned, Travis Schwenke third. We're on board right now with Dan Carrizo, as he is actually on his cooldown lap. He's actually completed all 4 flying laps already. Over on the Club Sports side, Andrew Sharp, your fastest driver, with Larry a 1/100, actually 13/1000th of a second advantage over Josh Vidal, who we're watching here, who is on his final flying lap as he works his way through turn 5 and up the hill towards that ever difficult blind entry into turn 6. Time he is looking to beat is a 1:36.234. Robert Schwenkler only 0.2 back from him. Schwenkler working his 3rd flying lap right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough battle there in those Club Sports. Chuck Labano not too far out there either, just another couple tenths back from Schwenkler. So those front 2 rows, both into the 36s, that could be a tough fight for them. There's Chuck Labano right there as he's doing a little tire warming there post his actual.
I don't know about tire warming. Actually, that was his last.
That was his last lap, right?
Yeah,
it's not exactly much for a cool down strategy either, but perhaps he's just checking the grip levels.
All right, so we're back with Josh Vidal coming out of turn 11, final corner onto the front straight. Again, looking to improve upon a 1:36.234 to take pole. But Josh Vidal does not improve on his final lap, turns in a 1:36.30. That is going to be good for the outside of the second row, as we're now watching Eric Violet on his actually only his 2nd flying lap. Now, Larry, Eric's supposed to be our pre-race interview guest.
Oh?
I'm guessing that we're probably not going to get a chance to talk to him, as he's gone out for his traditional late session.
He's got 4 minutes till we go to grid. We'll see. He does often, as you say, traditionally the last one to leave the pits to take his laps. He likes those potentially coolest temperatures he can get. But if he can turn a good lap, maybe he'll quit his 4 laps early and just to talk to us. Otherwise,
just to talk to us.
Or maybe he'll just open the mic while he's driving. I think he did that one time a couple years back.
Yeah, John. Well, we had John Allen do that
right.
A couple of years ago. Right now, Violet is running 3rd in the championship. He's 14 points back from his teammate Bailey Petrowski, who leads the championship right now. And Larry, 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, that was a heck of a TCR race between Petrowski and Leo Dragota from Orion and Eric Violet. Dragota and Violet got together, I think, with 2-3 laps to go, which pretty much opened up and sealed the deal for Petrowski. But it was a great fight at that point for, I think, about 57 minutes or so in TCR. Hopefully another good fight here once again.
Yeah, very similar to even our round 1 almost 4 weeks ago now at Willow Springs, where those 3 finished in that same order. So I guess the question tonight is, can the order get shaken up a little bit, or is it going to be potentially the Petrowski, Dragota, Violet? I don't know. What I'm seeing is the D2D guys have the pole locked in right now, unless someone else can find a way to get a lap in, because Bailey's got a quick one. But Violet has a chance. He's just still right now sitting in 7th, and Leo Dragota back in 9th on this grid so far.
At the moment, Violet is the only racer on track, and he comes through the final corner onto the front straight to wrap up lap number 3, and we'll see if he can get out of 7th position overall, and he moves up now to the outside of row number 2 to 4th as he starts his 4th and final lap.
Finally getting enough heat in those tires. This is fascinating here, that using all 4 laps to get the heat in there, trying to get up there near the front row. What he really wants to do, I think he had mentioned, is to finish ahead of Dragotta. Well, right now, starting position, he will be several rows ahead of Leo Dragotta. But I think Violet would like to also get past the other of the Orion drivers. That's Mike Dam, currently outside of row 1. So I think Eric would love to drop another 3.5 tenths and see if he can get up there on the front row.
Yeah, and and right ahead of Violet, Mariano Barrios from Friendly Neighborhood Racing on his final lap had also moved up, I think at the time from 8th fastest to 3rd fastest. So currently sitting on the inside of row number 2. And with that move, Larry, I think that's pretty much going to end things for Eric Violet. Yeah, that lap is going to end up being invalidated as he is just... at this point, I think, trying to get a little extra practice here as he makes his way down the Rainy curve. That car looks so stable through Rainy as he comes on to a little short shoot here leading to turn 11. And as suspected, he brings the car into the pit lane.
Yep, so that'll do it. Looks like Billy Petrowski and Mike Dam will be on that front row there in TCR, and Eric will have to figure out a way to do it from the second row.
All right, so that is going to wrap things up for all of our drivers in qualifying. We'll see if Eric joins us for about 20 seconds of interview time. I kind of doubt it. So we'll have the starting grid for you in just a second. But just a reminder that tonight's race is presented by the SCCA Foundation. The SCCA Foundation provides funding for the SCCA Academy, training the next generation of race workers and volunteers that make real-life road racing events possible. Visit sccafoundation.org for more information. All right, so that now at the click right there, going to wrap things up for qualifying. And Larry, still pretty exciting qualifying there, with many of our racers just within a couple hundredths of a second, as we talked about in the club sport class for our Toyotas, only 13 thousandths of a second separating Schwenkler and Sharp there on the front row. But as our drivers start to come to the line, let's run down the starting order, where Bailey Petrowski for D2D Sim Racing will start on pole, qualifying time 1:30.279, with Mike Dam from Orion starting on the outside of the front row. Mariano Barrios from Friendly Neighborhood Racing will start on the inside of row number 2 alongside Eric Violet, with Travis Schwenke and Dan Corrido making up row number 3. Robert Hartley from Orion will make up the inside of row number 4, starting 7th, right alongside D2D's Chris Thorman, with Leo Dragotta. And Larry, as you mentioned, bit of a surprise there to see Dragotta starting 9th out of 10. He's going to start alongside Ryan Haley there on the who starts on the outside of row number 5.
All right, over in the club sports, on the pole tonight, we talked about that 13,000s. Well, on the upside of that is the wrong stuff's Robert Schwenkler. On the downside of the 13,000s, it's Rapid Theft Racing's Andrew Sharp outside.
On the wrong side.
On the well, he'll be on the right side of it, I guess. Yeah, because he got the wrong stuff on the right side. On row 2, you've got HSR Phantom Racing's Josh Vidal. On the inside, the outside, we'll have a Frito Sport Racing, the Canadian Chuck Lovano. Row 3 on the inside, Jeff Jacobs from SCCA Foundation, lined up with one of the Klim Club's favorites, David Klimovich from Slow Bros. Row 4, Paul Carey from Carey Racing will be lined up alongside another Klim Club member, Michael Klimovich, also from Slow Bros. Slow Bros? Something like that.
Slow Bros.
Row 5, Rodney Carey, also part of Carey Racing, lined up with Midfield Motorsports' Tom Jenkins. On row 6, Russ Reddick brings his Flying Tortoise alongside Dale Maxwell, another one of the Slow Bros Racing. So I got it right that time. On row 7, the final row, Robert Briss from RFC Racing alongside, and I really hope he makes the race, Bobby Childs from D2D Sim Racing.
Yeah, I'm hoping. We heard word again that he's still working on that move and getting his sim rig reassembled. I mean, we've seen video of that sim rig, Larry. He might as well just be building like a Volkswagen Rabbit from scratch or something.
air-cooled sim rig.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anything that works for Bobby. All right, as we are on our pace lap, beautiful 2.5 mile 11 turn, Laguna Seca here. And oh my, Larry, it's going to be a long 75 minutes. All right.
So Bailey looking very calm on this, having that pole locked it early in that qualifying session, coming in with the 2 wins in the 2 races so far. I just wonder about Mike Dam, if he's going to have a strategy to be aggressive early. At a minimum, he can't let Bailey kind of get away and run his own race. Dam's going to have to stay with Bailey, or potentially even try to make a move around the outside in turn 1 or turn 2.
Yeah, and and we've seen where Mike has qualified very well through the first 2 rounds, and his opening laps just have not been stellar, and he's dropped back typically to his teammate Dragota. In talking to Eric Violette during the week, Larry, I think in practice this week, Mike Dam may have had an epiphany with these cars.
Okay.
He certainly doesn't like lapping in them and like and doing testing, but he's kind of come around to how well they race now. And definitely likes the aero, but thinks that maybe because it is so hard to pass in them, that it's something that he's kind of gaining a liking to, even in comparison to the GT3 cars and GT4 cars, in which he does so well.
Let's see if his newfound optimism and his newfound love for front wheel drive carries over to the race, and he can turn it into a better result than what he's had so far. His 4th place last week was okay, but he's pretty far back. I'm sure he'd like to get a little closer here. Look at him right up along Bailey as they're about to take green.
Yeah, as those drivers, as they come out of that 90-degree turn 11 here, had some issues getting gridded up, but they're formed up nice now as our live starter looks over the field, and green flag is in the air, Larry, and we're racing at Laguna Seca as our racers crest over the top of the hill, turn 1, and make their way down to the Andretti hairpin. It is usually a double apex corner for a lot of these racers, as Mike Dam sticks to the outside, and look at that, making a move up the inside, going to set himself up for turn number 3 is Travis Schwenke, but Eric Violette holds on to the position. He keeps Schwenke back behind as our Club Sport racers, our Toyota GR86 Cup cars, come down into turn 1 for the first time. It's Robert Schwenkler in the wrong stuff 235 machine. He manages to hold off the rest of the field. Josh Vidal now, though, side by side with Andrew Sharp as they go into turn 3. Sharp to the inside in the white number 24. Vidal now is going to settle into 3rd as they go into this high-speed sweeper at turn 4 and make the run down to turn 5.
Andrew Sharp doing a better job protecting the outside front row position. It looked like he was going to fall in behind Vidal, but by the time they got up to turn 3, Sharp was able to pull ahead, unlike what we saw in the Hyundais, where in fact it was that front row where you had Mariano Barrios actually able to take that position ahead of Mike Dam as they got to turn 3. So a very different result there. Andrew Sharp doing a better job protecting. Now let's see if anybody back in the field starts making moves.
All right, as they come into the 5.5 story drop that is the corkscrew, and Larry, just as much of a drop as they go down the rainy curve here at turn 9, have to get the car all the way back over to drivers off the set for turn 10. Taking a quick peek to the inside on Paul Carey is David Klimovich in the green and black number 21 machine. Not quite close enough, and a very difficult position to pass there as it is. He's got Michael Klimovich tucked in right behind him as we switch back over to the TCRs.
We'll take a look here again. Barrio is still ahead of Mike Dam. They're all pretty much on the line. The challenge now is on Eric Violette to try to keep up with the front 3. He's got a very aggressive Travis Schwenke behind him. He's got to worry about defending on. You can see a couple extra car lengths forming in front of Violette. He doesn't want to let those front 3 get away. He wants to stay in line with them as long as he can.
Yeah, definitely needs to stay within the draft here with these cars. The draft being very, very important here as they come up towards Knight's view overhead going into the corkscrew there. Again, he is under attack there from Travis Schwenke, with Dan Correa, though, falling a little bit further behind. And interestingly enough, Larry, Leo Dragota not able to make any headway from 9th there as he is sitting at the back of this field. Ryan Haley already running, I think, almost 5 seconds back from Leo Dragota at the moment.
Yeah, let's give Dragota a chance to, maybe he didn't get much practice in this week, give him a chance to sort of get into the groove. As we know, he's a very good racer, and I think his pace in this long 75-minute format could actually the race could come to him if he's able to get back into the rhythm here. While we take a look back at the TCRs, Petrowski's gap now over Barrios, up over a second. Barrios may have kind of missed a point there. He's dropped back a little bit. Mike Dam and Eric Violet still within that 1 second, but Petrowski on the letting everybody go, as we've got a Klimovich now with some damage to his right side.
Yeah, it looks like quite a bit of damage there as he now goes and rejoins. And that was coming out of turn 10, Larry. Let's take a look as he comes underneath out of the corkscrew. And I think he may have just run wide, dropped the wheel.
No, yeah, that's a big snap hook.
Oof, and that is a high-speed run out of the rainy curve there.
It is.
And a very hard hit of the wall. We'll see here. He is the first to come to the pit lane today, although not for a scheduled pit stop. Now, as we've got Robert Schwenkler and Andrew Sharp side to side, door to door, going into turn number 5, as Schwenkler, we said here that Schwenkler and Sharp and Vidal all within a couple hundredths of a second in qualifying, in some cases thousandths of a second, and Sharp was right alongside. And and clearly, Larry, when these drivers set up these Toyotas, as we've seen in the past, having the multiple adjustments that you have on the rear wing, we may have had some of the racers perhaps give up a little bit of downforce for some of the sweepers, like the rainy curve here, in order to make up ground in a straight line. And possibly that's how Andrew Sharp has his car set up right now, is he's seemingly picking up a lot of ground here as they come out of the corners.
Yeah, he may have a better setup for that corner exit. A little wild there for Mr. Sharp as he comes off at turn 11 all the way out by the wall. But yeah, they may have different setups. So one might have a little bit of extra speed carrying on the way in. The other might be able to plant better coming out. Could be driving styles. What's interesting is how, as you said, how close they've been all week long in practice, and then showing it again in qualifying within hundredths or thousands of each other all the time.
Yeah, and even with that long off coming out of turn 11, speaking of long offs, that's Travis Schwenke in the 16, going for a pretty wild ride coming out of turn 6 up the Rahal straight. Seemingly used more the gravel than he did the asphalt there. Let's take a look as he comes up the hill.
This is such a high-speed kink. You really want to carry as much speed as you can, but you got to hit that turn in just right, or you end up out here. The good part about front-wheel drive is you pretty much put your foot down and keep going.
Exactly.
You do that in rear drive, you often hit that wall on driver's left.
Yeah, you end up looking like Michael Klimovich.
Yes. But for Travis this time, he's able to save it. Nothing more than a simple off-track. And he's still able to keep his position while losing a little bit of time, but still same track position as behind them. This is the battle of Rob Hartley and Chris Thorman between D2D and Orion.
Yeah, and nice move there as Thorman moves up out of 8th to get past Robert Hartley, so move him up into 7th. It's a very nicely executed move there, coming down into the Andretti hairpin over turn 2.
What kind of pace Chris Thorman brings tonight? Obviously, his teammate Bailey Petrowski and Eric Violet currently up in the top 4. He would like to get up there as well and represent the D2D team. Making that pass on Orion always has to feel pretty good as well. These are two biggest teams represented here tonight.
All right, so Larry, even with Sharp going off and running wide coming out of the final corner on the previous lap, and seemingly was right back to the rear of Robert Schwenkler as they went into the Andretti hairpin to start the next lap. Schwenkler has just had Andrew Sharp there as cloaking all over the back of him this whole way around, and now running a little bit wide coming out of 5 is Schwenkler, but still manages to get a good run up the hill. But Larry, both of these racers, even with their multiple transgressions here, seemingly starting to find their way clear of Josh Vidal sitting back in 3rd.
Yeah, they're driving both a bit on the erratic side, but you notice there that Andrew, in the second position, didn't try to actually make a move on Robert, even though Robert had run wide there at turn 5. Andrew realizing that 2 cars right now in a line are still faster than trying to go side by side. He may be thinking we could break away a little bit from Vidal. Vidal right now just hitting his marks, realizing, hey, these guys are driving erratic. I can stick with them if I can just put together clean laps.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that has been, I think, the key driving force right now for Josh Vidal is he has been very clean up to this point, and you have to wonder if Schwenkler and Sharp were to do the same, how close Josh Vidal would be. But still, all 3 of them starting to work clear. Chuck Labano, the Canadian, back in 4th position.
Yep, but from Chuck on back, it's a pretty big gap there. So at least Chuck's doing well to stay within that top 4 bunch and pulling away from the rest. Meanwhile, here's the battle for second between Mariano Barrios, who's now almost 2 seconds back from leader Bailey Petrowski. But Mike Dam, you talked about his newfound love for front-wheel drive. This is where it shows. He may be losing ground to Petrowski, but he certainly has right now the momentum. And look at this. He's got a run off of turn 11. He's got the inside line as they head down to the hairpin.
Yeah, great run out of 11, and gets the pass made, coming under braking, going into Andretti. And again, I think not much of a fight there put up by Mariano Barrios. He realizes he's got Eric Violette sitting right behind, didn't want to give Violette any more of an advantage coming out of the hairpin here as he's sitting close back. And so, yeah, Dam now running in second with that newfound love for front-wheel drive. I think Mike Dam just wishes he'd have a newfound love for lap number 1, where he seems almost every week to give up at least 1 spot, sometimes 2, and is seemingly on the back foot for a good portion of the race because of it. As we jump to the midfield, Larry, in Club Sport, where we've got David Klimovich in the 21 machine. We've got Paul Carey in that gray number 141. Jeff Jacobs now under attack. Jacobs not getting a good run out of the final corner, and he's got Tom Jenkins nose up on him as they come down into the hairpin. Jacobs got position, though, if he decides to go deep, and he's going to take the position back there from Tom Jenkins. And Larry, while that was happening, new leader in Club Sport, where Andrew Sharp gets around Robert Schwenkler. And here's how it happened. All right, there you go. That was your pass for the lead with Andrew Sharp in the 24 machine, now moving up and around Robert Schwenkler. And all the while, not only is Josh Vidal still in this fight, but Chuck Labano, who was about 5 car lengths behind, now moves right back up into the thick of the battle as Schwenkler once again has some issues, this time coming out of the final corner, out of turn 11. Vidal not quite close enough to take advantage of it early on. Let's see if he makes a move to the inside, and he takes the look, but going to cover now is Robert Schwenkler. And as they come through the second portion of the hairpin, Vidal gets underneath Schwenkler, but Schwenkler able to fight back as he then had inside position going into turn 3, as we now have, and this is, Larry, this is, I think, exactly what Andrew Sharp wanted to see, is we're going to go now 3 wide coming out of turn 4, going into turn 5. It's Schwenkler to the inside. It's Labano to the outside. It's Vidal to the inside as they then switch back again. And Vidal, who decided to maybe get onto the brakes a little bit earlier and carry speed through the apex, manages to get past both Schwenkler and Labano coming out of turn 5. And he's the lead of this trio going up the hill into the corkscrew currently running second as Andrew Sharp starts to scoot away.
That's an unbelievable sequence. Just crazy. All three of them, nobody touched, but just beautiful stuff there.
Yeah.
And obviously at this point, Vidal being the one who's able to come out in the best position. They seem to have lost Andrew Sharp a little bit in all of this, as he's now 2.5 seconds up the road, but we are the beneficiaries of this great battle that Labano now finds himself part of. 2 laps ago, you and I were just talking about Labano maybe was losing this pace, but now he's right there fighting 3 wides.
Yeah, I was going to say he was in position there for a moment to take over second position.
Oh, and here we go again.
I mean, what a sequence there just a lap ago, as we've got who is that coming down the pit lane? Or actually, it's that's actually Leo Dragoda, Michael Klimovich leaving the pit lane after taking repairs from that early hit. But I mean, what a sequence between these 3 to go 3 wide, and to have Vidal, with the wherewithal to just back out of it, and be able to get off the brakes early and be able to carry more speed up the hill to split the 2 cars ahead of him. Amazing move, and the fact that I'm still talking about it a lap later.
This time now, Robert's having some issues still as he runs wide. Labano's got nowhere to go, but he's probably going to try and force something now as they head through 6 up the hill towards the corkscrew. This time, Schwenkler got a pretty good exit of 6 to not leave himself exposed to potential pass from Labano, but boy, Schwenkler's off tracks are definitely adding up tonight, aren't they?
Yeah, they're definitely adding up, Larry, and that's the second or third time that he's had issues coming through turn 5, where he turns in early, the car pushes out wide. As we now are finding our TCR cars for the first time starting to make their way through the Club Sport traffic there, as Mike Dam is able to clear Russ Ruddick's green and white number 95 machine, and in doing so is giving himself just a little bit of breathing room back to Mariano Barrios, who now finds that Eric Violette didn't have nearly the trouble with Ruddick that Barrios did, right on the tail. But Dam now opening up almost a full second, it looks like, on Barrios and Violet.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. That little bit of Russ Ruddick traffic definitely benefited Mike Dam just a little bit there, but I think Barrios and Violet are already closing back up as Dam caught up to more traffic just ahead, as I think that's Dale Maxwell that they caught going through the hairpin.
Yeah, indeed, that is Maxwell in the gray machine. And Larry, again, with these TCR cars lapping almost 6 seconds a lap, about 6 seconds a lap faster, they're gonna probably come up onto the back of the Club Sport racers another 4 times possibly this race. So something for them to keep in mind here, as again, they've got and Dam, as he comes through 6, gets right up behind Jeff Jacobs, who had the rear end step out. And I think, Larry, more than anything, that was Jacobs going and reacting to David Klimovich's exit out of turn 6.
Well, again, the traffic's getting a little bit crazy, as this time driver's trying to get out of the way, and he doesn't seem to be able to there, as Paul Carey's like thinking, I'll go left, they'll go right, and they all sort of line up behind him, and still as they go down through 10, it's a bit of a traffic nightmare here. Unbelievable stuff going on behind as Schwenke comes through, Carrito comes through. Paul Carey says, my goodness, will these TCRs ever end?
And Jeff Jacobs almost ran right through the back of David Klimovich ahead. And it's getting awfully hairy up there. Larry, in the chat, Leo Dragoda, who looks like he's retired the car, says that he's too tired to race, too sleepy to race.
Yeah, it's a rough life when you're a kid, It's had to work, I'm sure, 12-hour days all this week.
Maybe it's exam week.
Well, I'm disappointed only from a points standpoint. He came in with a couple of podium finishes. They're only going to give 1 drop this season. It looks like that'll be probably tonight's race for him. So he's now got pressure on as we get close to the halfway point. The second half's going to have to be his if he's going to try and take down Bailey Petrowski.
And if you'd like a chance to one-up Leo Dragota in this season's Touring Car Cup. We still are accepting entries through next Sunday is about it, or probably not, probably a week from this coming Sunday. If you go to xmsracing.com/series/TCC, you too can be on the grid for the remainder of season number 25.
Tom Jenkins, Paul Carey, Dale Maxwell fighting it out. In fact, Jenkins and Carey went side by side through the turn 6 kick up to the top of the hill. Unbelievable stuff. Jenkins comes out just ahead as they go down the corkscrew. Now they're winding their way down through the little bank turn there at 10. But great little battle side by side in a spot you don't normally see it.
No, that is not a place where you would expect it. I'm sure certainly not where Paul Carey and Tom Jenkins. Well, I guess Paul Carey was expected it.
Yeah, but we'll see. This battle looks just as good as the battle for second place is. That battle that was going on there between Schwenkler, Vidal, and Labano now is happening back here for, believe this is for 8th place with Carey, Maxwell, and Ruddick. Or sorry, Carey, Maxwell, and Jenkins.
Jenkins, yeah.
Now.
And look at this, Larry.
Here we go. We're going to see it consecutive laps of side by side through 6. We are.
Indeed, and from the outside, Josh Vidal manages to hold on to second, but look at the run. And again, we know much faster car, but here comes Eric Violette slicing underneath both, and Violette getting very violent under braking going into the corkscrew as he had to clear those two clubs.
That's race
Oh,
leader.
that's Bailey. That's our leader.
Yeah, and he was cautious as the two went side by side into 6th in front of him, but he got a really good run and managed to clear them before he got corkscrew. Smart driving for Bailey with that 5-second cushion that he has. But these three are a bit of a wild card as we've been watching. Vidal, Schwenkler, and Labano trying crazy things. This time they also said, hey, if the guys in 8th place can go side by side to 6, so can the ones in 2nd.
Just doesn't sound as good when you say Bailey Petrowski got violent under braking as opposed to Eric. Never mind. Anyway. As Robert Hartley and Chris Thorman continue their battle in the mid-pack in TCR. And we watched that wildly different line going into the Andretti hairpin that Robert Hartley taking a very wide set, trying to square off and turning it into a single apex corner as opposed to a double apex corner as Chris Thorman did. And as we see there, Larry, very little different in the outcome.
I see a lot of drivers take the line that Hartley just did and try to set up wide. Me personally, I tend to go shortest distance around the entire turn 2 section. I tend to dive down the inside, get a nice straight braking zone, nice and tidy, and get out of there because the run from 2 to 3, not that long. But if you can get out there, sometimes you can make that inside. If you're Hartley, you can make that inside driver like Thorman a bit nervous, and they'll take a tight exit, giving you potentially a long run, but you can stay outside and then possibly have the advantage in the 3. It didn't work that time, but don't be surprised if Hartley continues to try it.
Yeah, and I think especially as the race wears on, Larry, if Thorman continues with that line, and it'll be interesting to see what our racers do as this race transpires. I think most of the TCR racers, probably because of how quickly they can get the front tires changed, will probably take tires at their pit stop. But, I guess it's a question, at least towards the end of their first stint and towards the end of the race, whether or not they have the front tires to keep making that move and hugging all the way down to the inside, or perhaps they need to open things up.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of action, which tells me drivers are really putting their tires to the test. No one except maybe Bailey Petrowski is able to really save the tires, as Dan Carrito just about gets into the side of Josh Vidal, I think, right there, going through that turn.
It was more than just about. A little bit of a hip check there, kind of a little Max Verstappen and
George Russell?
Charles Leclerc. I was thinking more Leclerc on the front straight.
which match example are you going to use for side-by-side contact? You have plenty to choose from.
There are plenty over the years. Yeah. Lando Norris, you name it, it's there.
I was just talking about those 3 laps yesterday. Forget the rest of his career. He put up an entire resume right there.
That's right.
Let's not talk about other races. Let's talk about this one.
Let's talk about this one.
And what's happening here is Travis Schwenke and Dan Carito now are coming up on your leader in Club Sport, Andrew Sharp. And Sharp is going to hold his line as he should. And that's going to make Carrito maybe thinking there's an opportunity here to get around Travis Schwenke. See if he takes it. Nothing there's a little bit of room
Sharp
left.
Actually goes and
and
gives a little bit of room there to Dan Carrito to come underneath him.
I think 10. Through that turn 10, it's kind of a bowl. You can get away running a little bit wide there. It doesn't hurt you too badly, and I think that he felt that was a good spot to give them that's their turn. And on through. Again, when you're a 3-second lead, you have those opportunities. And again, he's going to hold the inside line here. He's going to make Thorman and Hartley go around him on the outside. Again, smart move if you're Andrew Sharp. Just hold your line tight and steady.
So things starting to stretch out just a little bit, but I guess the one battle that isn't Larry here is this battle for the last spot on the podium. Wow. There's front wheel drive for you. I was just about to say Mariano Barrios and Eric Violette not opening up at all, but Violet there. Probably better that he did that coming out of 5 as opposed to the big hill going up Ray Hall there where he would have really lost pace. But you can see just how much that brought Travis Schwenke back into the game there.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder what the temperature in his tires just might be. He had given us, he didn't do a pre-race interview, but he does give us some notes pre-race. And one of his comments was he wasn't even sure if he was going to take tires and that we should keep an eye on him when he comes into the pit, see if the car pops up. After seeing that big slide, I gotta figure he'll need to put on fresh tires.
Well, I think the question also was whether or not he'd take front tires, not necessarily rear tires. Now he might need rear tires. Yeah, exactly.
The other question he was going to make and his decision on was where is he relative to his rivals? Oh, look at that! The back end is so loose in this car. Yeah, he may be thinking he overheated the rear. It's just too much sliding. Well, this would be an interesting point to watch. But yeah, he was going to maybe make the decision based on track position, if he had an extra couple seconds to take those tires, or if not, survive without it and hope track position can hold form throughout. But the way he's sitting here at the 25-minute mark, he's still a good 10-15 minutes away from a pit stop. He's got to make these tires last that time and then hope that a fresh set lasts the remainder.
Yeah, I can't see if unless he can get those rear tires back down and underneath them again, I don't know how he could make those last for another 50 minutes.
He's managed to hold his position pretty well here over Schwenke. He hasn't given up a lot. Schwenke and Carrito in their own battle, but for Violet, you can see right there that all that time given up on lap 16, that's where we had seen a couple of those big sidestep drifts there out of Eric Violet. Schwenke took advantage of them, but since, I mean, if you look at their lap times on this lap, a lot closer now. It doesn't look like Schwenke's made much advantage this time around.
No.
More smooth for Eric Violet coming out of turn 11 that time. But up in front of them, Mario Barrios is still holding through on Mike Dam, not letting Mike get totally away here. They have let Bailey sort of gap the field here, but Barrios doing a great job sticking with Mike Dam.
Yeah, keeping a pretty steady, about 1 second gap back to Dam.
Keeping him in the neighborhood, as they say. You know, that friendly neighborhood.
The friendly neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
Yes. Somebody call the Daily Bugle. You know, and Larry, as we jump back to this battle between Thorman and Hartley again, you know, we just saw how Barrios and Dam were dropping wheels down into the dirt there through the corkscrew, and you know, we already talked in Club Sport how some of our racers were spending maybe more time in the dirt than they were on track coming out of some of these corners. Do you think that maybe the number of off tracks or 1Xs here might end up working against some of these drivers in the end, because we do end up penalizing for a certain number off?
I'm gonna get to that question in a second, because Eric Violette's about to lose a position to Travis Schwenke, who did a great job getting alongside to the inside up the main straightaway down into the hairpin. But now it's Violet on the counter move here, holding his line through 3 and now 4. And if he can continue to hold his line, but Schwenke's got a good run through 4. Now they're going to go to 5. Dan Carrito all he can do is sit and watch. Can he make this 3 wide? Okay, he'd have to be super aggressive to do it. Schwenke on the inside, though, now able to fully nose ahead. But look at Carrito making the move on Violet behind.
Could not get enough power up the hill. Yeah, you know, Larry, if it was almost the same color cars, I thought we were going to have a redux of what we saw in Club Sport a couple of minutes ago. There.
Almost.
As the red car was just sitting behind waiting for the C's to part.
Yeah, but you look at what's happening behind him. Is you've got Chris Thorman and Robert Hartley, who've actually gained a little bit over the last lap or two, and now you may end up with a 5-car battle on your hands. The longer that this Schwenke and Violet battle goes on, this battle here for 4th may turn into a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 train. And they got some Club Sport traffic to deal with. Carrito looking calm and patient there.
And you know, Larry, maybe to throw a monkey wrench into this battle between Schwenke, Violet, and Carrito is Chris Thorman.
Yeah.
In the last shot, we saw him coming down into Andretti. I think Thorman might have finally broken clear of Robert Hartley. Maybe not so much, but he's
bringing Hartley with him.
They're right
completely.
about there.
Yeah, their last laps for Travis Schwenke, Eric Violet, Dan Carrito, their last lap was like a high 32. Thorman and Hartley were a low 31. They took a 1.5 seconds collectively, essentially, out of the pack of 2, catching up to the pack of 3 ahead. So huge opportunity here for the Chris Thorman and for Rob Hartley to maybe get in this mix. So it really opens. This battle for 4th really is turning into a 5-way fight.
5-way fight, exactly.
And I wonder about Carrito being the one who's being the most patient in this. He hasn't really battled with anybody. Could he go the distance on this set of tires? Could he possibly be saving fuel to have the best pit stop? I'd keep your eye on Carrito at this point.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Larry, I was actually thinking that maybe we take a little bit earlier break than normal, maybe about 5 minutes early, because with the TCR class in particular, they have a very, very tight pit window here this evening that extends, and you know, a lot of this has to do with how well drivers can save fuel under these conditions. But the pit window is only about 2 laps long for the TCR cars, laps 24 through 26, and our racers are just about ready to, they're working in TCR now, about midway through their 21st lap. So let's do this a little bit before we get to the top of the hour. Let's take our break. And well, thanks to our partners and sponsors. And when we come back, hopefully we'll get all the pit sequences, and we'll take you all the way to the checkered flag here at Laguna Seca, where you're watching round number 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation here on Apex Racing TV. Stay with us.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org. The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
Welcome back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, round number 3 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation. I'm Greg Ginsberg. He's Larry Lefty McLeod, and that is Bailey Petrowski, your TCR leader, who, Larry, is we're now, what are we, almost halfway now, just a little bit less than halfway. He's now opened up almost a 5-second advantage on Mike Dam, Mariano Barrios, and Travis Schwenke behind, to the point where as he comes into the corkscrew, they are just now, I think, coming out of turn 6 and onto the Ray Hall straight.
Yeah, Bailey just being super clean tonight, opening that up. We saw from the very beginning where Barrios and Dam swapped positions. Dam got the position back. They've been doing this pretty much since then, and I think some of that fighting has caused them to drop back. But Mike Dam has got it under 5 seconds now. We'll see what these pit stops look like when we get to them in the next probably 2 laps, as we're finishing lap 23, or if you're Bailey Petrowski, starting lap 23, I meant, or 24, I should say. Yes, so we'll see if they do their pit exchanges soon, who can do it the best, and see if it makes a difference on that front threesome. Meanwhile, this guy, Andrew Sharp, has opened up a lead there after an early battle with Robert Schwenkler. Has got a pretty good lead over both Josh Vidal and Rob Schwenkler, with Labano now fading back from that battle.
Yeah, and and we had seen where I think Vidal, or probably Labano, had joined that battle primarily because of the fight that we had initially between Sharp, Vidal, and Schwenkler. So let's jump now and take a look a little bit further back in the club sport field here, Larry, as we go on board. And that was Maxwell. Paul Carey and Dale Maxwell.
Yep, and they were definitely mixing it up earlier. This time it leads to a little bit of tears.
All right, Larry, heading on to the pit lane now. The first of our club sport racers to take service is Josh Vidal in the number 26 machine. And this is fairly early in the pit window. We thought that the pit window for the Toyotas would start right around lap 20. And I guess right at the end of lap 21, starting lap number 22, is when Josh Vidal comes in. Should extend out to lap 26 for the club sport cars, as Mike Dam is the first of our TCR cars. I don't know if it's to blink, but definitely to take service, as Robert Hartley, his Orion teammate, is going to follow suit, coming in from 8th position.
Very interesting strategy for Mike Dam, having a at least position advantage on Mariano Barrios. I was actually expecting potentially Barrios to flinch first, but let's see what happens here for Mike Dam, as he does not appear to be taking tires.
No, and again, we thought that the tires would be about 2 seconds easily, at least for front tires, easy enough to get it done during the refueling, and maybe add just again, about 2 seconds to the length of the pit stop. But he is now out and heading down this very tricky pit lane exit, where almost as difficult as the Andretti hairpin is the hairpin at the exit of the pit lane, as we now have Andrew Sharp pitting in from the lead with Robert Schwenkler just behind, and we'll have to see where they come out. Josh Vidal currently sitting in 7th position, about 50 seconds back.
We'll see. Neither of these two seem to be taking tires. They're both staying put, and here comes your race leader, Bailey Petrowski, for his stop, and I suspect behind him will be a long train of TCRs.
Yeah, and Larry, I think in club sport, to take tires because they don't have a center wheel hub. Wow, all the TCR cars coming in again, very compressed pit window here. But in club sport, I think it would probably be a death knell if you were to go and take tires with those cars. Here. So in TCR, Chris Thorman stays out. He is going to start lap 25 as your leader here, as every other TCR car has either come in for service or is and has taken service or is on the pit lane, as we have Petrowski, Barrios, Violet, Schwenke, and Carrillo on the pit lane currently. Mike Dam, Robert Hartley have taken service, as has Ryan Haley.
Oh, this is going to be very close between Mike Dam and Billy Petrowski, as Dam has got the momentum, having been that early stopper. But look at that gap now. You can see it's just a couple car lengths compared to the nearly 5 second that it was before they stopped. So advantage there goes to Mike Dam. The question now is, if not taking tires was a better pit strategy, does it matter now at the end of the race? How much tire will he have left?
Yeah, so he knocked off Larry about 3.5 seconds in the pit sequence there. Pardon me, and that's exactly right. Is it going to be an issue with not taking tires? We did get word that Mariano Barrios did indeed take tires. He comes out, though, almost 6 seconds back from Mike Dam. And so you could see there even though he came in a lap later, what the delta is there. Pretty huge, as Chris Thorman is our last TCR driver to take service.
Yep, Thorman, not surprising, probably on fumes at this point. We'll see where he comes out relative to Rob Hartley, that he was in that really close battle with. Then also, Schwenke and Violet. Schwenke actually a little quicker on his pit stop than Violet. We were suspecting Violet might have taken tires. That gap between those two now a couple of seconds, in fact. So advantage to Schwenke there. So it should be Petrowski, Mike Dam, Mariano Barrios, then Travis Schwenke, Eric Violet. Dan Carrillo is the other one we're looking for, as he was in the mix there, but there he is.
So down sitting in 8th position currently. We'll see where Thorman comes out. We saw there that Thorman did take tires as he just now leaves his pit stall. But he's going to drop Larry all the way down to 8th position there. So at the very back of the pack, with Ryan Haley, the only other driver behind.
Yeah, good stop there for Robert Hartley. Remember, he was in this battle actually behind Chris Thorman. Thorman likely took tires. Hartley may not have, and that advantage in the pit stop time definitely is showing. As you can see, Hartley just up the road there in front of Dan Carrillo. So the Hartley in 6th, Carrillo now in 7th. Thorman comes back out in 8th, losing a couple of spots on that exchange. There is the race lead now, just over 1 second. Billy Petrowski to Mike Dam, D2D, and Orion fighting it out here with about 30-some minutes to go, so we're barely getting warm.
That's right. And so, Larry, judging by the pit lane transit times and the time in the box, Petrowski was in his box, and the transit time was almost exactly 4 seconds longer than Mike Dam. So I'm under the assumption that Petrowski did take tires there.
Yeah, I suspect he did. With that cushion of time, he might have thought, I can afford to and have a better tire at the end. For Mike Dam, he might have had to just roll the dice, see what you can do. Right now, what he could do is get within a second or so of Bailey Petrowski, but Now he's got to figure out a way on worn tires to outdrive Bailey, and that's a
Right.
tall order. And you can see by the way Mike just took that Andretti hairpin, that's worn tires there. He just went from 1.1 back to 1.8, basically in one corner.
In just a single corner, and that is now with still almost a half hour remaining in this race.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck Labano, who is one of our last drivers to take service in Club Sport, comes onto the pit lane. I believe the only Club Sport racers yet to come down the pit lane, David Klimovich, who now comes onto the pit lane, and possibly Robert Brist, currently sitting back in 12th position.
All right, there's your former race leader, Andrew Sharp. Should get that position back here once he gets past Labano's pit stall.
And there you go. Andrew Sharp elevated back to the lead in the number 24 machine.
So will be is where does Chuck Labano come out relative to Josh Vidal? As I think Schwenkler may have already gone by. Gonna be close.
Yeah. Schwenkler's still throwing that car around coming out of the hairpin.
And Labano does stay ahead of Vidal for the third spot. Advantage to Labano.
Larry, this will probably be a good time as we've now gone through, and Robert Brist, the last driver to take to the pit lane in Club Sport, might be a good opportunity now to take a look at the point standings after 2 rounds here in our 2 classes. Why don't we start off with TCR, where Bailey Petrowski has won 2 out of the 3 races. Probably 2 out of the 2 races. Hard to have 3 wins when there are only 2 rounds. There is Petrowski at 134 points, 13 up on Leo Dragota, 14 up on Eric Violette, and of course now we're going to see Violette, regardless, leapfrog Leo Dragota. We do have the racers do get 1 event, as you mentioned, to drop over the course of the season. We'll start factoring in those drops, I believe, after this round here. So Aaron Beaver currently sitting 4th in the championship at 105 points. Beaver not in the field tonight for D2D Sim Racing. Over in Club Sport, in the Toyotas, leading the way is Rapid Theft Racing's Andrew Sharp, our current leader here tonight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Chuck Labano 2nd in the championship, only 4 points back. And then the wrong stuff's Robert Schwenkler. And it's currently reversed on track, Larry, where Schwenkler's running 2nd, Labano is running 3rd. And that might be enough to put Schwenkler up in the 2nd position in the championship here early on in the season. Josh Vidal currently sitting 4th in the championship, currently sitting 4th on track as well, with 116 points. And then we've got the Slow Bros duo of Dale Maxwell and David Klimovich. Klimovich currently running 5th on track tonight, Maxwell running 10th. And Larry, we take a look here in TCR. Mariano Barrios, who came out behind Travis Schwenke after the pit cycle. Remember, Barrios did take tires when Travis Schwenke and his Orion teammates did not. Barrios now gets around Travis Schwenke, so move him up into 3rd position as we're watching Andrew Sharp start making his way, slicing through the field here as he's going to come up onto the back of which Klimovich is that? Is that Michael in the 325, I believe, just ahead?
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Andrew really in strong form tonight. Pulled away from the rivals at the front of the field, and now so fast he's actually going to be putting some of the back of the field a lap down. Andrew probably got to do this carefully. He does have a pretty good lead on Labano and Schwenkler and Vidal, but got to be cautious now. Does have to bring it home, and still about 30 minutes to go. This is we've seen races end by the lead drivers being too aggressive in traffic. So Andrew has plenty of time in the bag, can easily just wait his turn at some of these corners and not risk it.
And so, Larry, I was talking earlier and before we went to break about the many ways to get off tracks here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, it hurts during qualifying to have qualifying laps tossed out, but during the race as well. If racers receive 21 off tracks, they'll actually be docked 1 championship point in the standing. So obviously that hurts in the long run. If they hit 26 off tracks, they'll get a drive-through penalty.
Well,
and we don't have in our timing system here an exact number. We have some approximations for some of the drivers.
Yeah.
But I
They're
think
adding
we
up.
can. Yeah, I think we could say both in TCR and also in club sport, they are starting to add up for some drivers that they may be getting very, very close to actually getting the drive-through penalty. And some of them may have already crossed the threshold where they lose a championship point.
Yeah, as you say, our system, for whatever reason, it estimates whether somebody gets an off track or not. We don't have the official, but our timing system says Mike Dam may already be around 20, and Robert Schwenkler, who's currently 3rd in club sport, may be sitting on around 19. So if 21 is that threshold of a championship point deduction, 26, only 5 or 6 more, is potentially a drive-through penalty. You've still got 27 minutes of this race to go.
Yeah, exactly.
You're barely over halfway, even if you're not officially at 20.
As we just saw what we think were Barrios and Schwenke each picking up an off track coming out of turn 6. Let's take a look here, Larry, as they come, and this is...
That's Eric Violet. Just trying to pass Josh Vidal, and Violet just can't get the front end to stick.
Yep.
Or trying to keep the back end from sliding out and decided to just take the evasive action exit there at 5. But yeah, as you talk about the other battles we got going on, Josh Vidal potentially banging that club sport around a little bit. But the battle between Barrios and Schwenke continues. We think Barrios got fresh tires. We don't know that Travis Schwenke does. But it's a tight battle going on back there.
Yeah, let's take a look at this replay real quick there.
Schwenkler.
Larry, I was just going to say, as Chuck Labano picks up position, moves up in the 3rd position, getting around Robert Schwenkler. And I was just about to say that in the club sport, Schwenkler might be the biggest offender of all of our racers. And
I would bet that's another one right there, is he high centers on that sausage curve at the apex of 11.
Larry, he was almost completely to the inside of the curbing there. That I think he got to the sausage curbing at the apex with his right tires.
Yeah, he's pushing him hard, but he's the only one who knows the official counts. We'll see what that looks like come the end of the race, or if he ever has to serve a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, Barrios has got mirrors full of Schwenke at this point. Schwenke, new tires or not, he doesn't care. He's going to be pushing Mariano Barrios for everything he can handle. Look at that. Nose to tail, under brakes, through that same corner that we just saw Schwenkler lose it on. These guys, so tight.
You know, but as we've seen many times before, Larry, with these TCR cars, obviously they work very well in the draft, tucked underneath the car ahead. The challenge then becomes, especially when these are all identical chassis here, to be able to pull out and make the pass that you really do have to rely on, in many cases here at Laguna Seca, with the driver running wide and going into the dirt rather than keeping all 4 wheels on the pavement. But we've seen here through some of the corners that they're almost as fast. They're almost as fast 4-wheeling through the dirt as they are on the asphalt.
Yeah. So much traffic now they're going to have to work through.
Yeah.
To make things interesting.
And so, Larry, one of the things to note here is as we have Mariano Barrios flashing the lights heading into the corkscrew, I'm wondering if we're going to start to see the lights come on some of these cars here, as our viewers will notice it's getting a little bit on the dark side there.
And getting a little dirty is Travis Swanky going off there at that rainy curve, deciding he would rather just use a little bit of dirt now and catch back up later. He just didn't want to get anywhere near the lap traffic, I guess.
No, I think that's
Taking the safe
exactly what
line.
it was. But it is getting awfully dark there. Virtually the race started at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So starting at, it's now about 6:30 in the evening thereabouts, and or the whole event, including qualifying, started at about 5 o'clock. So there you go, 5:57 here Pacific time. Maybe the sun sets early in California. I don't know. So, yeah, Larry, common theme this lap is all the drivers, Orion drivers that did not take new tires on their pit stops, starting to find perhaps the limits of adhesion.
The only one not picking up an off track in that lap is Leo Dragoda. This is because he's in the chat more than he is driving right
That's
now.
right.
So he can't donate his off tracks to his teammates.
No. He's
Lots of dirt
underage.
down
You
the
don't want him
corkscrew.
gambling at this age. don't want to set a bad precedent. We may find ourselves out of a job if that happens.
We're not here to encourage underage gambling.
No, not at all.
But overage drinking. Just kidding. All right, so Rob Hartley here. There he is after picking up a couple of off tracks. He's actually looks like, based on our count, the best of the Orion drivers.
Yeah, by a long shot.
Yeah, Schwenke's right around that 15 number. Hartley's only at 13, while Mike Dam appears to be up around 24, which means 20 minutes to go in this race. We may see a drive-through penalty before this thing is done.
You know, I was going to say, what we may see as a top three, Larry, is Dan Carrillo, Chris Thorman, and Ryan Haley, because they're the three drivers running 7th, 8th, and 9th are the three cleanest TCR cars at the moment. We may see everybody ahead of them getting black flagged by the end of the race.
All right, there's Jenkins and Ruddock battling it out for 7th.
It's been a fairly quiet night for Russ Ruddock, just running a consistent race. I think the last time we checked in on him, whereas the TCR leaders were working their way through, maybe 5 laps into the race or thereabouts. But Ruddock currently sitting right in the middle of the field in 8th position there. And Jenkins looking as if he wants Russ Ruddock to take 7th.
Jenkins a little wild, picking up off his own off tracks. Josh Vidal, meanwhile, sitting in the 4th spot. Another off track, this time exiting turn 5 all by himself, just hanging on to it. Yeah, everyone, Leo Dragoda, not the only one tired tonight. All these drivers looking like they're also a little bit tired.
Yeah, my mind is, Larry, maybe, we talked about not as big a field here this evening. And, we're not seeing the constant passing that we saw at, for example, Willow Springs or at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago. That might be giving the opportunity to these drivers for their minds to maybe, wander a little bit, that it's maybe a little bit harder to keep focus when you're like Josh Vidal here, where you don't really have a rabbit to chase. And, the closest driver ahead is Robert Schwenkler, almost 8 seconds up the road. And when Vidal came out of turn 11, Schwenkler was just about to crest the hill going into turn 1.
Yeah, you talk about the sort of being that lonely feeling and losing your concentration. I was doing an endurance race a couple years back, and on the radio with my teammate who's out on track, and watching his lap times fade and fade and fade. We get on the radio and say, "Hey, what's going on?" He says, "Oh, sorry, I just sort of lost focus." Lap time picks up. Another lap or two goes by. Lap times are falling and falling. I say, "Hey, you see that car like 2 corners ahead? Go get him. Okay, for like 7 laps, he was like qualifying pole position pace.
he
gets
was
by him
hitting his marks
2
and
laps
everything.
later. As soon as he gets by him 2 laps
And
later,
he fell apart
10
again.
seconds slower again. It was amazing. We just thought he had like the worst attention span you ever had in a driver. But it was so the whole race then from there on out, it was, hey, you see the red car? Go get it. You see the blue car? Go get it. It's the only way to keep him interested in it.
All right, so Larry, our Ryan Racers and Travis Schwenke is one we know did not take tires during the pit sequence. Not starting, but continues to have tire degradation issues, and Eric Violette's made up a couple, about 2 seconds, just the last couple of laps here.
Yeah, we think Violette probably took tires given what we saw. I don't think we had a confirmation on his pits time. Was just a little bit slower than some of his rivals that we didn't know did not take tires. So Violet would love to get past Schwenke and pick up those points, but then he's got a Barrios not too far up, and we think Barrios may be close to a drive-through penalty. And so right now, Violet may have the best chance to move up this order. Going to turn in a little bit earlier, a little more crisp for Eric Violet than over Travis Schwenke, who's just kind of hanging on for the ride at this point.
And so much more difficult to hit your mark in that corner and get the left front tire down into that little dip at the apex when you are the trailing car, because you just can't sight your way to the corner. You just have to do it on feel.
Violet's so good in traffic that way, though. He can always hit his marks even as a trailing car. He's going to watch door to door, though. Oh, so close.
He and Chuck Lobano there. That almost did not work at turn 10.
Paul Carey actually is who that was.
Oh, was that Carey? Okay.
Yeah, that's Carey, and everybody made it through, no problems. Boy, it was so close. Carey had to hold that outside line so gently as up in front now. Barrios trying to get up inside. I think it's Jenkins as well as Ruddick. So things are getting a little bit dicey. Barrios gets through that twosome. Schwenke is going to have to wait through turn 3 to get through him, and maybe he'll do it by 4. Otherwise, here comes Eric Violet. Good exit by Violet here. Watch this. See if Violet can get all the way up underneath Schwenke before they get to 5. Not quite enough.
Yeah, not quite close enough. But I think nice job by Schwenke and Violet to recognize, Larry, that the 2 Club Sport drivers, Jenkins and Ruddick, are in a fight of their own.
Yeah.
And we were watching the 2 of them battle it out just a couple laps ago. I thought, by this point that Ruddick might have gotten around Jenkins. But nice little scrap there. And they weren't very concerned with the TCR cars behind them. It was going to be up to Schwenke and Violet to kind of figure their way through.
Yeah, everybody sort of figured it out. You got a battle for 4th, mixing it up in another class that's a battle for 7th. Nobody's going to win the race in either of those battles, but respect them both. And look at the running wide again. You can see the tire marks in the grass for Travis Schwenke. Eric Violet is just got to be licking his chops watching Schwenke all over the place.
Yeah, but, again, just can't do anything with it, Larry. As Schwenke comes and rejoins mere inches in front of Violet, and Violet has to go and get on the binders maybe a little bit earlier than he wanted to going into turn 11.
Those tires for Schwenke cannot last too much longer the way he's just abusing them at this point. Any more traffic, I think. Violet's going to take the next opportunity to make a move. I don't think he's going to wait any longer. So we're now down inside the final 15 minutes of this 75-minute thriller. Better job this lap for Travis Schwenke, but while I say that, it looks like Eric Violet's getting closer and closer the cleaner that Travis Schwenke drives. He's faster when he's erratic. Do the corkscrew.
Let's see here as they come down through the rainy curve and setting up for turn 10. This is what gave Travis Schwenke so many heart palpitations just a lap ago. And again, Larry runs wide.
Same thing.
And Violet not quite close enough. For a moment, it looked as though Violet would take the car to driver's right. as Schwenke tried to bring the car back online and set up for turn 11, and Violet just wasn't far enough up alongside to make that move, I think, and just decided to hold back. That might have been his best opportunity to get around in quite some time.
Might have been. I think, again, some traffic could help. Right now, there isn't any, as the only car up there, of course, is Mariano Barrios, who they both would like to catch. But no club sports at this point to try and make a move. See how these high-speed corners work out for Travis Schwenke. Able to make it through 6 this time pretty cleanly. But this is where those worn tires really start to come back to bite you. It's the high-speed stuff. The back end tires, the rears don't like to hang on so much. We've seen it a couple of times in a row now, down in turn 10. The exact same thing, where Schwenke runs wide almost all the way to the pit entry.
Yeah, and this time Violet does not get as good a run off the corkscrew. He's not quite as close alongside as, for the first time in 3 laps, Travis Schwenke manages to keep the car on track. Now, Larry, also interesting to note here is they're coming into turn 11, that Violet makes up a lot of ground to Schwenke under braking going into that final corner. But in that getting harder on the brakes and staying on that brake pedal a little bit longer, he's not getting the drive off the corner that Schwenke is getting, and it's certainly affecting him, not putting him in a good position if he wanted to attempt to pass coming down here into the Andretti hairpin.
Both Schwenke and Eric Violet not actually making up ground on Mariano Barrios. You can see there a couple of tenths here and there between them. But Mariano Barrios last time around actually a couple tenths quicker than both of Schwenke and Violet. So he's able to open up that lead, even though Eric Violet's being conservative, staying back, not fighting, not helping at this point. Those tires that we know that Barrios changed out are definitely coming into his favor right now.
And again, Barrios there having to just having to maintain focus, look in the rearview mirror, check his relative screen periodically to manage the gaps back to Schwenke and Violet.
Meanwhile, this guy, remember when he came out of the pits, when Bailey Petrowski came out of the pits, Bailey was only 1 second ahead of Mike Dam. That lead now is over 10 seconds. As we believe Mike Dam did not change tires. We think Bailey did. And Dam's pace, been okay. His last lap was actually a 31.0. But I think within that, a lot of laps weren't that fast. And Bailey has just got it cruise control. His last lap, a 30.5, a half a second faster than Mike Dam's. And there you can see Bailey pretty much in cruise control. He's got 9.5 minutes to bring this thing home to try and earn his 3rd win in as many races.
All right, let's jump to our other class leader, Larry. That's our Club Sport leader, Andrew Sharp, who has managed to open up a substantial delta on his behalf. Now standing at about 20 seconds over Chuck Labano, running in 2nd.
Yeah, Andrew just has been crisp and clean and very efficient with his car since he was able to break away from that group. And you can see now a 20-second lead over the rest. And even at this stage, still running right there in those 36s, consistently one of the quickest cars out there, and that's how you win races.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Chuck Labano, Robert Schwenkler behind them.
It's starting to tighten
heating
up
up
again.
a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see here if Schwenkler has gotten the yips out at with 10
look at that.
minutes remaining in the race.
there's the stat. There's a half a tenth, 7 tenths, okay, 2 tenths the other way, and then a tenth and a half, 3 tenths. Lobano is definitely losing ground to Schwenkler. Schwenkler now knowing, he's only got a handful of laps to go. He's going to have to get up there and make a move if he wants that second step of the podium.
Well, remember, Larry, that that prior to Lobano taking over second position, as Lobano gets a whole lot of curbing there at the apex of 10. Oh my, as that car was up on 2 wheels and oh wow. Remember that Lobano had been falling back from Josh Vidal and Robert Schwenkler early on when they were going at it with Andrew Sharp. And Lobano was more or less gifted second position by Robert Schwenkler when Schwenkler had that pretty disastrous exit at turn 11 about 10 laps ago.
And Schwenkler's got his act back together and able to start pulling up here. And you can see even that last lap, another tenth and a half. So now between them, just a couple of tenths separating them. The issue now is you can get behind somebody, but can you actually make the pass? We've seen two side by side. We've seen 3-way across on this track tonight. In fact, these guys were involved in one of those.
That's right.
Let's see what kind of move that Schwenkler thinks he can make on Lobano should he get up there.
Well, 7 minutes, Larry, still a long time in order to work out how you want to affect the pass here. We're looking at a minute and a half per, actually, I guess a minute 35, minute 36 for the club sports for each lap. So what is that? Probably
Could
around
be 4 laps.
4 laps, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see how this goes here. It all, of course, depends on where Bailey Petrowski, race leader, is when that clock strikes midnight, so to speak. But we'll see if Schwenkler's got any moves. He's got pace, but does he have any moves? Can he force Lobano into some mistakes? We've seen Lobano just a lap ago through that last corner, that turn 10, make a big mistake. This time, much cleaner. But again, it looks like Schwenkler's inching closer.
He is, and Larry, it's gotten much brighter. Again, I don't know. Is it already early morning? I don't know. Here.
The sun also rises at Laguna Seca.
And
this battle's continuing.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit further back in the pack is Russ Ruddock has finally gotten around Paul Carey. So move Ruddock up into 8th. Carey sitting back in 9th. Actually, no, I take that back. We were watching the fight between Ruddock and Tom Jenkins earlier, if I remember right.
Jenkins is now about 5 seconds up the road.
Yeah.
But these two are locked in, and Paul Carey may be thinking he's got an opportunity to get on by. Meanwhile, is that race leader Andrew Sharp just behind them?
That is indeed.
Well, he'll be spectating a very good battle here in the last couple of laps, and he can just sit back and see what happens with this one.
With a 20-second advantage,
Yeah, no rush. Oh, look at this. No, good run there for Carey. Now on the inside of Ruddock as they go across start finish. Through the kink here, technically turn 1, heading down toward that Andretti hairpin, and he's got the advantage on the inside, does Carey. Let's see if Ruddock can outbrake him. Carey efficiently on the inside. Any up and under return?
No.
And with that, Andrew Sharp might say, okay, now maybe it's my time to go work my way through here. Now the battle has happened in front of them without any extra help. Meanwhile, we were talking about where's the pass going to happen. Lobano and Schwenkler doing it side by side through turn 2. Now they're going to head to 3. Schwenkler now will be turning on the outside. Lobano's got the inside if he can just tuck that nose in. Oh, things are getting spicy. Too spicy for Lobano. He runs wide, and that's going to give the spot to Schwenkler.
There you go. Gets that sausage curb, Larry. Lifted the rear end up in the air, and we know how much these Toyotas like to shuffle their weight around. And he was just lucky to keep that off the wall.
Yes, a little bit of replay here. So this is a great line hold here for Lobano. But when he turns in, you're right, he catches some of the sausage curb. Watch this as he just clips it just there, and he bicycles, and then he has to go counter steer to catch it. It was going to be close, but keeps it off the wall.
All right, so move Robert Schwenkler back up in the second place. Labano now in third. And Larry, with that, Josh Vidal, welcome to the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think Vidal now is only about a half oh, no, I'm sorry.
He's in his own fight here.
Yeah, he's got Klimovich to worry about.
Yeah, Vidal had early pace, he's had some issues here and there, but now he's in this fight for the fourth spot with the David Klimovich. Is that like feisty.
Like TD? Okay.
As opposed to the Michael Klimovich.
Yes.
Or the Doug Klimovich. As our directors mentioning that school that we do not speak of, it sometimes refers to themselves in the
in the third person.
I don't know what that is. Yes. All right, as Chris Dorman gets his way between this battle to just sort of stay clear of it. Laps Paul Carey and everybody's clear there. Let's jump to this one. The Violet and Schwenke battle continues.
And for all of his tire woes, Larry, Travis Schwenke is maintaining ground there, maintaining position over Eric Violet. And he's in the waning laps has started to clean things up just a little bit. That being said, I'm still showing that he's got about 23 off tracks. I'm actually showing Mario Barrios ahead as possibly as high as 29 off tracks.
I think next time by is going to be white flag as Bailey Petrowski is finishing up this lap there. This should be white flag now for race leader Petrowski.
That should do it. And didn't see it there. Didn't see Barney.
The flag man is holding the camera, so you can't see him.
Yeah, exactly. Bad place with the bridge there. But we do think now, with just about 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining on the clock, that Bailey Petrowski is working his 49th and final lap.
Pretty good cushion there of 18 seconds on Mike Dam. The Barrios is closed up a little bit on Mike Dam, so Dam may be limping a car home on some rough tires. Here you can see Mike Dam just in front of us. At Ryan Haley in the green Hyundai. Yep.
Yes.
Never mentioned his name tonight, but he's right there in the traffic. Chuck Labano now following Mike Dam through turn 5.
Well, that was an interesting move by Labano coming out of turn 5. Took a quick dip to the inside. I'm not sure what happened there. As Bailey Petrowski now with just one more corner to go. Neat, tidy, and onto the front straight, where Bailey Petrowski, now Larry, will take his third win. Third win in 3 rounds here in season number 25 of the Touring Car Cup. Congratulations to him. Mike Dam should bring the car home in second, but let's take a look at this battle now. Here we go, Schwenke and Violet. This is the battle for 4th. As Dam will cross the line, finishing second, Barrios finishing third, and Travis Schwenke will beat Eric Violet to the line. He'll finish in 4th. Violet will come home in 5th. Over in Club Sport, Andrew Sharp takes the win. Actually, he hasn't taken the win yet. He is yet to cross the finish line. However, Robert Schwenkler will finish second. His race is now done, with Chuck Labano finishing in 3rd. Josh Vidal crossing the line, finishing in 4th, with Klimovich 5th. And so it is a foregone conclusion now, Larry, that Andrew Sharp is your winner in Club Sport here, taking the win in round number 3.
Kind of a victory lap of sorts here for Andrew. Just roll down the hill.
As he will get his 2nd win on the season. He won round number 2 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for Rapid Theft Racing. And he will use tonight's result to cement his lead in club sport. And there is the Rapid Theft driver crossing the line and taking the checkered flag. All right, so Petrowski with the win in TCR, Sharp with the win in club sport, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk to our race winners here tonight from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, where you've just seen round number 3, the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation. Stay with us.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.
The SCCA Foundation is a 501c3 organization serving as the charitable arm of the Sports Car Club of America. One of the programs partially funded by the foundation is the SCCA Academy, an online learning management system used to keep real-life racing track officials up to date on the highest standards of race safety and officiating. Through this program, the SCCA Foundation is supporting the future of the best-trained corner workers and event officials in motorsport. You can support these efforts at www.sccafoundation.org.
The
search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Welcome back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, where you just seen round number 3, Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by the SCCA Foundation. Bailey Petrowski, your winner in TCR, with Mike Dam second, Mariano Barrios from Friendly Neighborhood Racing filling out the podium. Travis Schwenke finishing just off in 4th position. Over in Club Sport, Andrew Sharp from Rapid Theft Racing, your winner. Robert Schwenkler from The Wrong Stuff finishing 2nd. Chuck Lobano from Feeder Sport finishing in 3rd. Josh Vidal finishing just off the podium in 4th. And Larry, I think we've got sitting in the green room waiting for us 2 of our 3 racers from the podium in Club Sport. Let's bring in first Robert Schwenkler, finished 2nd tonight, driving the number 235 Wrong Stuff Toyota.
All right, Robert Schwenkler joining us here. Robert, you were on the pole tonight by the slimmest of margins, but you had to know this was going to be a fight of all fights, and it seemed to be that way even up until the end of your race. Tell me a little bit about the start of that race and maybe some of the excitement that you found going through it.
Yeah, I felt like the start went really well. I built the gap, but then I knew I didn't have the pace to outrun Andrew. And as he was closing, I was like, I'll just gonna see if I can let him go by and hook onto the back of him. And that just didn't work out, obviously. I got kind of swallowed up by the other guys, and then the battles, and then the traffic, and it just all kind of unraveled at that point. And it wouldn't be, I just have to say, it would not be an XMS race without me self-spinning. So at least I got that in.
And recovered. You recovered from it. You got the
spot
like the
Bobby
back.
Childs at Club Sport.
Exactly, yeah. Although I don't know if I want that nickname. I was just chasing Chuck down. And I feel like if I could get up next to him, maybe force him into a mistake, and it just kind of worked out in my favor. So
yeah, we were actually showing the replay of the 3 wide that you and Josh and Chuck had going down there between turns 4 and 5. Was that a game of the chicken? Were you were on the inside? Were you thinking, I gotta hold my line, the other guys have to back out?
yeah, I mean, basically, I was just like, somebody's gonna have to break. Like, who's gonna do it? Yeah, it just all kind of worked out, but it was pretty wild. I'm shocked we didn't wipe each other out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and you let Josh then come up the inside, even though you had it at the start. He had a great run, gets on by it. He had his issues later in the race, but you and Chuck continue to fight a little bit until your spin there. At what point after the spin did you think, I still got a chance to get that spot back? How long did that recovery come to you?
I just put my head down when I realized, because I didn't hit anything, had no damage. I was like, all right, I just got to put my head down. I know I can catch him. I had him on pace, watching the lap times as they were going by. So I was like, if I can just keep it consistent, but then, you don't think the extra 15 minutes makes that much difference. But for whatever reason, it's like a mental thing. So like I started making stupid little mistakes here and there. Couldn't be consistent. So I finally just had to, got lucky with some traffic. And like I said, just tried to suck him into a mistake there. And it kind of worked out. So.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. Even a great pass there, the side-by-side through the edge, ready hairpin all the way down through 3. Beautiful stuff to watch. But tonight, a good podium finish for you. Got to feel good about that positive result. Anybody, team or any friends and family you want to mention here? So you finished tonight?
Actually, I just want to make a huge shout out to the traffic management today. In all the races so far in this league, it's been outstanding. So shout out to all the drivers. It's been really fun and awesome to race in this series. As always, shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast and to all of our team sponsors, VRS, UbiSafe, Dangerous, Abruzzi, SimMotion, SimCoach, VRS, did I say that already? Yeah. Friends and family, thanks for your support. Till the next one, guys. Thanks.
All right, well, good job here. Podium finish, second spot in the Club Sport class for Robert Schweikler from The Wrong Stuff.
All right, Larry, and let's move on to our race winner here tonight, racing for Rapid Theft Racing, Andrew Sharp.
All right, joining us here is your race winner in Club Sport, Andrew Sharp. And Andrew, you started up there on that front row. It got really tight there for the first couple laps, but eventually you were able to to get around Robert and start making your way along. I thought maybe you'd stick it out and just put a show on for us and just run side by side the whole night, but you decided to just, no, this was going to be your night. Tell me a little bit about how it was from your perspective.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping it was going to be a 4-way battle, but then I looked at my rearview mirror and they were going 3 wide up the corkscrew. I was like, oh, man. So, I mean, yeah, the car felt great. I was really hoping for some more swapping around because it's a ton of fun, especially around the corkscrew. But, I mean, yeah, pace was strong, and it was definitely a fun race to just be able to go out there and plug some laps in.
Yeah, we noticed a lot. In fact, Robert just mentioned it too, that the traffic was really good, it seemed. Lapped cars, whether you had caught some of the back cars in your class or even the way that the TCRs were lapping, it seemed to be pretty respectful. Was that really the theme we saw tonight?
Yeah, you had enough room here to make it work pretty well. I think, yeah, generally it was pretty good on pace and being able to just pull to the side or just make yourself really predictable. So, yeah, I felt this track suited these 2 cars really well.
Yeah, we now 3 races in. You've got 2 wins and another second place. The other one, you've got a pretty good points lead now. You're starting to look at as we get to the halfway point, what you have to do in order to clinch this thing down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's still a long season. I'm hoping that the rest of the tracks are pretty similar in terms of being able to come up with some pace. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the championship and having a great time so far.
Well, we're looking forward to it as well. But I know you've probably got some folks you want to thank for helping you get the win here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. The Dave Carroll setups, it was absolutely dialed in today, and then Blake Fitz for giving me some ideas for some turn 1 moves through this race, and the rest of the Rapid Theft Racing team has been great to support, and look forward to racing the rest of the season.
That was a good result here tonight, getting the win for Rapid Theft Racing here in Club Sport. Andrew Sharp, congrats.
Thank you.
And Greg's on mute. Does he know it? Hey, Greg is on mute, but that's okay. We are going to now bring in our winner in the TCR class from D2D, Bailey Petrowski.
Bailey Petrowski. Thank you, Larry.
All right, Bailey Petrowski joining us. And Bailey, another win. This one maybe in a way a little bit easier than the first two, but none of them are easy, I'm sure. How did that feel from your side? You just look comfortable out there.
You know, it felt a bit longer than what I was expecting. I don't know, this track, it takes so much effort just to keep it consistent, keep it on track. I think everyone was out there struggling with track limits and getting a tire out in the gravel. So that made it a lot longer than what it actually really felt like, but it just, yeah, it was mainly just keeping it clean. I was trying not to take any huge risks, but it was, yeah, it's especially this car, it's just, you have to be very gentle with all of your inputs, so it was just trying to be as consistent as I possibly could.
Yeah, and this track isn't one of those places like a Road America or a Spa or somewhere where there's this long straightaways you can sort of take a mental break and a physical break. This place, even the straightaways are bent and uphill, downhill, and there's no place to relax around here, is there?
Exactly, and there's no easy corner. Every corner is very unforgiving. If you're slightly too far on the inside, there's a huge curve that's going to push you off track. If you go turn in a little too late, you're guaranteed putting a tire in the dirt. So it's, yeah, there's just no break. And I'm surprised. Well, fortunately, I was away from everyone for the entire race. I can't imagine how stressed out I would have been if I had people on my tail putting pressure on me the entire time. So that was one luxury I had for pretty much the entire race, except for through the pit cycle, which I believe Mike and Travis, I don't think either of them took tires, which is why they gained so much on me.
Yeah.
But it freaked me out a little bit to see how close he was.
We thought so, but as shown by his pace, the tires just weren't there to stay under him, and he just couldn't quite hold on to that. In fact, he was even being challenged at the end by Mariano Barrios, who we believe did take tires. So taking tires tonight, the right move, as well as being smooth and fast as always as you are. And with 2 weeks till the next round at, I think we're at Long Beach next time.
Long Beach. Yeah.
Another track. You'll get one straightaway to relax, then you just have walls to think about for the rest of the lap. But that's still 2 weeks away. Tonight you can celebrate here, and I know that you've got some friends, family, sponsors, and others you probably want to mention real quick.
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you guys for commentating on these races and always being here to put on, well, help show the show. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but yeah, appreciate you guys. I do want to thank Ricmotech.
They make us come here, Bailey.
I see. You have more incentive than I do, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I want to thank Ricmotech and Butt Kicker for always supporting the series, as well as the SCCA Foundation. I want to thank friends and family for always watching and supporting me in these races. And I'm gonna get yelled at if I don't do this. So I have this is a shout out for you, Lisa. Thank you for watching and starting to join these broadcasts. And yeah, thank you for everyone who's watching.
All right, way to get that one in. Definitely don't want to miss those special shout outs. But
No, thank you, Lisa.
Congrats. Yeah, congrats, Bailey, on another strong performance. Make it 3 wins in 3 rounds for D2D Sim Racing's Bailey Petrosky.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good one.
All right, there you go. For tonight, you kind of gave away the whole.
Did I steal your thunder?
Yeah, it kind of left me speechless. Because next week, well, let's put it this way: we're gonna be in California for a while, Larry.
Yeah.
That next. Yeah, next week, the World Challenge heads to Spa for its first 90-minute race of the season. And of course, that is for our GT3, LMP2, and GTP racers. But in 2 weeks, June 16th, Monday night, the Touring Car Cup goes down the 101 to Long Beach for a 60-minute race. And then the following week after that, June 23rd, is going to be the World Challenge at Long Beach. So I guess we need to get used to the street course and watching Bailey go around the fountain. All right, let's wrap things up here. All right, so for Jonathan Grabowski and Jim Cunningham, for Larry Lefty McLeod, the Rain King, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will see you next Monday night from Spa. Have a great week, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.